Yippee! Captain Marvel is the movie we're talking about. If you're stupid, this movie is really, really good. It's so good. Come with me as I talk about how good it is. Overall, before we get into spoilers, I just want to compliment a few things and then mention my only 2 complaints, which are not spoilery at all. And then we're going to talk about like one specific thing that has lots of spoilers. So anyway, this movie just overall, writing-wise, acting, visually, all of it is gorgeous and good and smart and just so well done. This movie is so just genuinely good. Everything is super compelling to watch. Everyone on screen just grabs your attention. There's nothing distracting about it. There was maybe one scene where the CG was like, you could tell it was CG. You could tell that wasn't Brie Larson. It was just a CG Brie Larson. But like, what are you gonna do? You can't completely recreate somebody. Then you get into like the Princess Leia in Rogue One situation, and that's that's terrible. But yeah, talking about CG a little bit, the technology that they used, I don't know if it was makeup or if it was the stuff that they used on Michael Douglas in Ant-Man to age him down. Same thing with Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War. I don't know if they were using a version of that technology the entire movie, or if it was just makeup and Samuel L. Jackson and Clark Gregg are just timeless men, but either way, not distracting at all. Like, I had to remind myself that Samuel L. Jackson does not currently look like that, and Clark Gregg does not currently look like that. It's nuts. Speaking of Clark Gregg, this is Captain Marvel. This is not Agent Phil Coulson, but I wanted more of him. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't a lot more. I understand why he wasn't in every scene, but like the amount, like my feet literally like stomped on the ground as I saw him for the first time. I was like, yes, my son, there he is. But we didn't get, he's basically in the movie as much as he is in the first Iron Man, which is fair. I just wanted more of him because I love that boy. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., please come back soon. I know you are coming back soon, but get on that shit. So that's one of my 2 complaints. The other one is just the score, and it's not even really a complaint. Like, it's not a bad score. It's just nothing fantastic, like nothing incredible. Like, I didn't come out of this like I did Avengers or Winter Soldier being like, whoa, that's gonna be stuck in my head and I'm gonna listen to that while I work and shit, and it's not the same. You know, there's no like, there were a few motifs in certain songs towards the end of the movie that I wish they had carried out through the rest of it, but they just didn't. So it was like some space instruments. I don't really know how to put it, but there was just some songs towards the end that I wish the rest of the score would have carried out. That's a big criticism of like most Marvel movies or most superhero or action movies, is that their scores aren't really paid as much attention to, unless you're like Superman or like themes. Those get a lot of attention, but even then, when there's a theme that doesn't stand, like I'm sure there was a Captain Marvel suite, like a theme that was playing, but it wasn't super recognizable, unfortunately. So the main thing, the big main thing, and the reason I'm filming this review, because I don't really review movies that much anymore unless I have something specific to say, is the theme of Captain Marvel, which I believe, in my peanut brain, is basically answering questions that nobody thought to ask in the first place, in the best way possible. Captain Marvel is like the final puzzle piece to the giant MCU jigsaw that nobody knew was missing. Okay, at this point I'm probably gonna be talking about spoilers, so go away if you don't want any of those. I'm not gonna spoil too much, but there will be spoilers going forward. What are you doing? What? Flirkin. Excuse me, sir, you are not part of this video. You don't even look like the cat from the movie. The other one looks like the cat from the movie. She's not here, though. Begone, foul beast. Okay, so, let me set the stage. It's the end of Avengers Infinity War, and Nick Fury gets out of his car. He starts to dissolve. He's like, mother, and then he takes out his pager. He calls this hoe, and suddenly you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Like, in a meta sense, you know that we're getting a Captain Marvel movie, and that she's supposed to appear in in Avengers 3 or 4, you're still fuzzy on that. Some people, there were rumors that she was going to show up at the end of Age of Ultron, and then that didn't happen. The status of Captain Marvel's all fuzzy, but now, concrete confirmation that she's in the MCU. And before this, she was never mentioned in context of canon. She was never seen, never alluded to, anything like that. Suddenly, you got these questions on your head. So you fast forward to this movie, you saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you're like, alright, yeah, that was pretty good, but the end credit scene sort of has you tasting for Endgame. It's still on your brain. You didn't know it was called Endgame at the time, but now you do. And you're going into Captain Marvel, and you have one burning question on your head. Why does Fury have a pager that calls Captain Marvel? That question isn't fully answered until the end of the movie. It keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time, not like consciously being like, all right, when'd you get the pager? Because like you see his pager early on in the movie, and it's pretty clear that like, you know, just in a meta sense, this is the movie that we're gonna learn how Fury met Carol Danvers. But the point that I'm getting at here is that that's the theme of this movie. That question is lingering in the back of your head the entire movie until nearly the end, where it's completely 100% answered. And meanwhile, throughout the movie, a bunch of other questions are being answered that you didn't even think to ask. Oh, how did Fury's eye get fucked up? Oh, Flerken scratched it. Oh, what's the story of the Who guy from Guardians? Well, he was on Carol's Kree Strike Force team, of course. Oh, what did Ronan look like in 1995? Well, he was way more blue than he was in 2014. The craziest part about all of this is that none of it feels unnatural. This could have been done so much worse. Just like ham-fist these questions in there of you know, just like, oh, here's a question that you were asking, or like they advertised it as the movie that answers all the questions that nobody cared about. Like, you don't know that you care until you have the answers, you know? And if they were advertising that these are the questions that are going to be answered, that, you know, the Who guy, he gets a backstory, no one's going to care. Like, what? I don't care about the Who guy, but if you show him to me without telling me that I'm going to know about the Who guy, then yeah, I'm down to learn about the Who guy. All of these questions are just so well done, and they're not the main focus of the movie. They tie perfectly into Carol's larger story that's going on in Captain Marvel, which also ties perfectly into the larger story of the MCU. If this movie were a comic, on the cover of it, there'd be a banner that says tie-in to Infinity War event or something like that, and I would be praising it for being a perfect example of what a tie-in comic should be. It's a standalone story that gives greater context to the larger event, but at the end of the day, is not necessarily detrimental to the main book's plot. You can completely skip this movie, which you shouldn't, but you can completely skip this movie and understand completely what's going on in Endgame. Because all you need to know is that Fury called in some girl with this emblem, and then she shows up with that emblem asking where Fury is. So clearly she's just like Fury's pal from the 90s, I guess. What I'm trying to get at is that this movie's great. I know it's early, and I might change my mind on this in the future, but I genuinely think that this is in my top 3 MCU movies now, which, for the record now, would be Winter Soldier, Avengers, Captain Marvel. Also, it replaced Iron Man 3, which I know is probably a controversial pick, but shut up, that movie's great. Also, not the point. The point is that this movie is really fucking good. There were, of course, other parts of this movie that I really enjoyed. There was, you know, Kelly Sue DeConnick's cameo, her, like, 3-second on-screen appearance. That was so cute. I loved that. Goose, the cat, actually being a Flerken and not just an allusion to Chewie, Carol's cat in the comics. That was fantastic. Loved every bit of that. Oh, and also, Spectrum, just kind of sitting there in 1995 as a child the whole movie. Sweet! More on that, I just love that in this movie, this Captain Marvel movie, starring a woman, a female superhero, very powerful, very strong, that is going to inspire, like, kids everywhere, girls everywhere to be powerful, like, they can be Captain. Representation matters is what I'm getting at. That literally happens in this movie. Clearly, Carol Danvers just inspires Monica Rambeau to pursue whatever path is going to lead her down to becoming Spectrum. That is so cool to me. I love every bit of that. I don't feel like I need to say much else about Captain Marvel. Just go see it. Just go watch it if you haven't. I feel like if you're at this point in the review, you've already seen it, but like, go watch Captain Marvel. Go watch her movie. She has longer hair in the movie. But this is her. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I might go watch it again. I'm not even kidding. I'm thinking about going to watch it again. So maybe I'll do that. Bye. Attack. Fair enough.